deeply facing existential aloneness, we can access oneness. Or another way to put it is that the illusory separate self feels aloneness, a very specific type of aloneness, which I call existential aloneness, because it's about your existence, not about being alone or lonely. That is the byproduct of starting to realize the truth of oneness. So the truth of oneness is a truth of reality, which is that there's only one, as in there is only us, as whatever you want to call us, God, emptiness, awareness, whatever label, it doesn't matter. There is only us, there's only that. And we can't divide ourselves up. It's impossible. We've created the illusion that we can divide ourselves up into people and different objects. It certainly is a convincing illusion, but we're not able to actually physically do it. We can only just believe in the illusion, which is what we're doing in the trance of separation, egoic consciousness. And so when we start to see this truth, the truth of oneness, that there is only us here, what happens is the illusory separate self usually has some kind of reaction to that. And it's usually along the lines of grief, shock, or fear, or disorientation. And so it can be quite painful. And I see from working with people, this seems to be one of the biggest areas that people tend to avoid unconsciously, is going into the pain of this aloneness. So the illusory separate self is really attached to many things, objects, people, all kinds of ideas and beliefs and concepts, and that helps the illusory separate self feel like it exists. And when these attachments start dropping away, it makes the illusory separate self feel very concerned that it doesn't exist, because it doesn't, but you get a fear response, or you grieve the loss of that. And so this is a part of it. The seeing that I don't exist because there are no other people here, they're all just me. The illusory separate self starts to really get that, I don't exist, right? And so that's why this can be so painful. So it's a lot to process, and it takes often many years to get through all the processing of this. And I find it will arise during awakening. If you're going through an authentic awakening, this will arise. And then you go through a period of processing and digging into it, and then it'll cycle around, and then it'll sort of not be an issue for a while, and then it'll come back around. And each time you'll learn something different and get different realizations, and you go through deeper layers of learning about what oneness really is what you're learning, until it becomes your lived reality. So when you're awake, you live from oneness. And although you don't solve the problem of there being no other people there, you are completely accepting of it because of the awakening process that you've been through. You've worked through all the layers of it, and so it's no longer scary. It's no longer sad. It's just is what is. It's just the truth of reality, just like all the other truths. Some are hard to hear. And so this one is hard to hear. We like the idea of oneness. That sounds very nice and beautiful, but the reality of the truth to living from oneness is that we often have to experience a lot of existential aloneness to be able to really get what oneness is actually about from a lived experience. So I've made another video, and I'll link it in the description, about how to work through the existential aloneness, like a process step by step to work through it. And it's really often about emotional processing, but really what we want to do is go towards it. We want to go into it, especially if it's arisen through our awakening, then we know it's the right time. If we haven't accessed it yet, I'll be doing a meditation at the end of this where you can see if that helps you to access some of the aloneness. And just be aware, though, that meditation could obviously be triggering, which is kind of the point. We're trying to sort of destabilize things So just as a warning before you do it, make sure you're in a good headspace before you access that one. But just getting back to the aloneness before I do the meditation, it's really quite difficult to see that there is only us, because the illusory separate self is attached to the belief that there's other people. And so as we start to see that there's no other people here, they're all just me, everyone, my family, my friends, my lovers, my husband, my wife, my children, everyone, all the animals I own, absolutely everything is all me. The illusory separate self is pretty attached to that, typically. So it's usually painful. Some people get off without much, but most of the time it's painful, and that's how you know you're going in the right direction with it, is typically there's going to be some type of pain, usually grief, around that, to see that. And it can be very shocking. It can be very shocking, but trust me when I say it's not like this forever, that you don't solve the problem of there being no other people here. It's just a truth of reality, but you come to full acceptance of it. And when you're awake, you live from that every moment, and you have no problem with that. In fact, the opposite is true, where not only is it not triggering or scary or sad in any way, it's actually really quite the opposite and quite wonderful. So the illusory separate self thinks that it's a really bad thing that there's nobody else here. But the reality is it's actually a good thing, and nothing's changing. It's just what already is the truth, but you're just having the blinkers taken off and just seeing it for what it really is. You're never alone in a sense. It's a paradox, because there's always you everywhere. You're absolutely everywhere. You're standing on yourself on the ground. You're breathing in yourself with the air. You are the sky, you're the moon, you're absolutely everything. And so you can't ever be alone, ever. But it's not that there is another. It's not that there's another. And that's the thing we're really attached to. And a large part of that, I think, is due to our trauma and attachment wound and things like that from growing up. But we certainly can get through it, and we can get to a stage where we no longer care. We no longer care that there's only us, because we know that that's just the truth of reality, and it's always been that way. Here I am pretending, playing all these roles, pretending that there's different people, and how wonderful that I get that experience, that to even believe that. How incredible is that we got to believe that we had parents and children, and that we fell in love with someone. Isn't it so beautiful that we got to do that? But it was all illusory. We were always doing it with ourselves, always. We've never spoken to another person. We've only ever spoken to ourselves. And when we start to realize this for ourselves, we have these realizations, it can be confronting. This can be one of the challenging areas of awakening, for sure. So I hope that just gives you a bit of a guide as to what type of aloneness I'm talking about here. It's something that's very deep. It can be triggered through a life event, through experiencing some type of loss of someone that's very close and who you were dependent on emotionally or psychologically. And when they're not in your life anymore, then you start to access the aloneness that I'm talking about. And just the importance of going into it and finding a way to really process it and go towards it, just like you would with existential fear. It's the same with the aloneness, really going towards it and just seeing, what is this trying to teach me? I want to learn about oneness. I want to experience oneness. And I know that this aloneness, these challenging feelings of aloneness, is going to be the portal that gets me there. So can I be brave enough just to go into the pain of it and finding a way to do that? So now I'll go into a guided meditation that may help you to access this existential aloneness that I'm talking about. This is a trigger warning. It may be triggering for some people. The other thing I do suggest to do sometimes with my clients, I know this sounds a bit weird, but it's to watch movies that are about Armageddon type themes, where there's just one person left in the storyline, and they feel totally isolated, like they're the last person on Earth. So if you see stories like that and you really feel into how they feel, if it's portrayed well, that's the kind of aloneness that I'm talking about. It's the sense that I'm the last person on the planet. That's not true. That's the illusory separate self interpretation of what oneness is. The reality is that you were only ever just you. There was only ever you there. You didn't lose anything. You're not going to lose anything. It's just that you didn't realize you were deluded and that you just thought there were other people there that you were dealing with. And then now you're seeing that that's not true. So that's another tip for you if you're really wanting to access it, to try and see if you can feel through that type of storyline, what it feels like to be the last person on the planet, even though it's not exactly the same as what is happening. It can certainly be an access point. So if you would like to meditate with me, just still the body, close down your eyes. Take some deep breaths and just allow everything to slow down. Just imagine the face of someone that you're most close with, most connected with. Just picture their face. And then just ask in your internal world to see their true face. You could say, I want to see who they really are beyond the mask. Show me who they really are. Just be open to whatever experience wants to present. But it's about having an openness and willingness to see what is true. The truth is available to everyone if you have the eyes to see it. What is the truth here? What am I looking at here? Are they really a person that is separate from me? And so we're just courageous and willing to see the truth. And if it is shown to us that perhaps they're made of emptiness, or that they're not really there, or that they're us, and then we can ask, how does that make me feel? How do I feel about that? How do I feel knowing that my favorite person in the world is not actually a separate person? That I've only ever been talking to myself. How do I feel about that? and just allow yourself to feel it. And you can try this with different loved ones that you feel you might be attached to. And also people you dislike. And you see the truth about them. And can I just allow myself to, even for a moment, acknowledge the fact that there's no one else here? Can I allow myself to feel that? Not to think about it, but to feel it in the body. There's no one else here. There never has been. There never will be. I am alone. And just allow yourself to go into the feeling of it as deeply as you can. And each time you try, just go a little bit deeper. Can I let myself feel the impact of that truth? That there is only one. There are no other people. I'm not in relationship with another, only with myself. And I truly feel it, even just a little bit. Hopefully that meditation can help you to start to access what I'm speaking about in this video, but also just generally speaking, standard meditation for awakening purposes can be also very beneficial because we detach from the outside world and from our attachments from other people, from being able to share our story with others, from getting our emotional needs met by others. And we are secluded in our meditation. And so we do get to experience a taste of what it's like to be on our own. And we can use that as a portal to go deeper into the existential aloneness as well.